All right, can I have your attention, please? We will go ahead and get started. It's 5:30. Welcome to our Committee of Adjustment meeting. For those of you with cell phones, I'm going to ask you to take this opportunity to turn your ringers off. And if your phone happens to ring while the meeting is underway, we would ask you not to answer it until you are beyond earshot of the room. And members with the public who have a particular interest in any application this evening, please be sure to fill your name and address in the sign-up sheets that are located at the back of the room. That will become clear in just a moment. So the notice for decision for the applications we received this evening will only be forwarded to those who have either presented a written request for the decision or to those who have recorded their name and address on the sign-up sheets at the back of the room. Furthermore, a formal request is necessary to be advised of a possible Ontario Land Tribunal hearing on these matters, and in order to be allowed to make a presentation to the Ontario Land Tribunal, which is otherwise known as the OLT. Now, if you're following along remotely, welcome, and if you'd like to be notified of any decision or any appeals that may result, please send an email to our Secretary-Treasurer, Lindsay Stamen. Her email address is lsthamann@cityofkingston.ca. And be sure to include your full name and address as well as the file number of the application. So I'd now like to share with you the 5-part format I'll be using as we navigate through the applications this evening. In the first part, I'll start by introducing the applicant. If you are the applicant, I'm going to ask you to come up to the speaker's area to my right or the speaker's area to my left. And you'll have an opportunity to state your name and address for the record, and then I'll give you an opportunity to add anything further to the application or to make specific requests of the committee. In the second step, I'll invite members of the committee to ask questions of either the applicant or staff. And then in the third step, I'll open the public portion of the meeting. Now, members of the public can line up to the speaker's area to my left or the speaker's area to the right, or if you're joining online, you can raise your virtual hand in Zoom. And once I recognize you, I'm going to ask you to state your full name and address for the record, and then you'll have an opportunity to make your comments or ask your questions. Each speaker will be allowed up to 5 minutes, and I'll be sure to give a warning at the 4-minute mark. It would be helpful if speakers do not repeat the same issues over and over. So if somebody has already covered a point that you wish to make, it will not be helpful for you to raise that again. Now, during the public portion of the meeting, please don't expect an immediate response to your questions or to your comments. It's at the public portion of the meeting where we record your questions and comments, and only after we close the public portion of the meeting will those questions and comments be addressed by the applicant, their agent, or by staff. I'll be calling 3 times for public comments before I close the public portion of the meeting. Then in the fourth step, I'll give the applicant, their agent, or staff an opportunity to address the public comments before opening the 5th step in our process this evening, which is where I turn back to the committee. I ask somebody to make a motion. We'll deliberate on the application and make our ultimate decision. And that's the process we'll use. We'll just repeat that for all applications we hear this evening. All right, so now I'll call on Allison, our clerk, to confirm quorum.
Thank you, and through you, Mr. Chair, we do indeed have quorum. Currently missing from the committee is Councillor Hassan, Gaurav Rahan, Somnath Sinha, and Jordan Tikanos-Levy, and I received regrets from Jeff Scott.
Great, thanks very much. So I'll now call the meeting to order at 5:33 p.m. and I'll refer everybody to the agenda. Yes, Vincent. Oh, okay. Refer everybody to the agenda. So.
Yes. Am I audible? Do I speak now?
Okay, so first step is the approval of the agenda. So we received several amendments to the agenda this evening. The most recent one came out about 20 minutes or 25 minutes ago with what I understand to be very small clerical or administrative issues on the last 2 applications. So can I call for a motion to approve the agenda as amended? So moved by Vincent and seconded by Ken, actually. All in favor, raise your physical hands, and that's unanimously carried. Okay. All right, are there any, confirmation of the minutes of the June 17th meeting. We've all had an opportunity to review them, so can I call for a motion to approve the agenda? And that's moved by Ken and seconded by Doug. Any discussion? So all in favor, raise your physical hands, and that's unanimously carried. Thank you. All right, are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest this evening? I have two on items 7 and 8. I have a business relationship with the applicant, so I'll be removing myself from the room while the vice chair takes over. We have no delegations. We have one request for a deferral, but I believe that was covered in the addendum. Okay, so we're fine on that. We have no returning deferred items. And the first piece of new business we have is for 1441 Montreal Street, and I'm going to ask Lindsay to read that into the record, please.
Through you, Mr. Chair. Good evening, everyone. This is an application for minor variance at 1441 Montreal Street, file number D13037-2024, to reduce the minimum required driveway width of 3 meters to 2.4 meters. And I'll also add that tonight's addendum contains one letter of concern regarding this application.
Great, thank you very much. And that letter was one we received in the addendum this afternoon. Okay, so do we have the applicant with us? Do we have them online? Yes, hello, welcome. And could I have you state your full name and address for the record, please?
Yes, full name is Vincent Varghese. Address is 1441 Montreal Street, Kingston.
Okay, thank you and welcome to our meeting. Is there anything further you wish to add to the application?
No. Just that the construction has been over, so there is no additional construction. It is just for the parking that I'm requesting a relief.
Right, okay, very good, thank you. Okay, committee members, do you have any questions for the applicant or for staff? I see none. So I just wanted to circle back. We did receive a letter from, I believe it's a neighbor, Catherine Nolan, and I might turn this over to staff to maybe comment on that.
Hello, through you, Mr. Chair. Yes, there were some concerns that were raised through this letter. One of them is, how will this multi-unit development affect the look of the neighborhood? The second residential unit is located within the basement of the property. Access to the property is at the side entrance. As a result of the minor variance, there will be 2 zone-compliant spaces, and it's anticipated that there will be no impact with respect to the visual impacts along the streets as well as adjacent residential units. Residential properties. The other question is, how do you plan to address the potential increase in demand for local services and infrastructure, water, sewer, and electricity? The property itself is not located within a constrained area for second residential units. As well, throughout the technical review, concerns were not identified through Utilities Kingston or Kingston Hydro. Questions with respect to parking and traffic. The parking will be all on private property, and it's anticipated that there will be no impacts with respect to street parking. And there were also questions about noise and privacy, how to mitigate noise and privacy issues for the neighbors. As the owner has indicated, the construction has already been completed. There are no external changes proposed for the second residential unit. With respect to the zoning, the second residential unit was reviewed through the building permit process. Zoning provisions such as the area of the dwelling unit, the walkway, servicing, and the requirement for bicycle parking were all reviewed through the building permit process. The only zoning deficiency here is the reduction in the driveway width from 3 meters to 2.4 meters at the midpoint of the driveway, and we found that this would be appropriate to facilitate a tandem parking arrangement for the second residential unit. With respect to things such as any precedents for the similar developments in our area, what outcomes and impacts to these projects. In looking through the building permits for properties south of the subject property, there were about 3 building permits for basement unit apartments. These were reviewed under the building permit process, and there was no need for relief through the minor variance process. Safety concerns such as foot traffic and traffic on a busy street. Again, all parking will be on private property. And there was also a concern with respect to these semis were built at grade and then backfilled with large rocks. Again, all of the development is happening internally within the existing semi-detached house, and that there are no external additions to facilitate the development of the second residential unit. Again, the minor variance is to reduce the driveway width at the midpoint of the driveway to facilitate tandem parking arrangement. And I believe that I've addressed the concerns. If there are any questions, please let me know.
Great, thank you very much. Committee members, any follow-up questions? Okay, so now I'll open the public portion of the meeting. Do we have any members of the public with us this evening wishing to speak to the application for 1441 Montreal Street? Please raise your hand and come to the speakers area. Yes, yep, if you'd like to come to the speakers, any microphone here up front? Yep, anywhere, anyone? Does it, right, this is fine, yep. Oh, okay. Thanks, Chris.
Hi, my concern is...
I'm sorry, could I just have you state your name and address for the record?
It's Catherine Nolan, 1447 Montreal Street. There has been a problem in our backyards along that area. Anything beyond the back corner of the houses are sliding downhill. I have pictures of mine. I've had neighbors report cracks in their houses, in their inner walls. And I'm really concerned that this, being a multiple dwelling and existing in our neighborhood, this is a family neighborhood. I would like to see some assurance that when the children play on the sidewalks, they're going to be careful and look and watch. And the other thing is, in reference to the backyards, if they are doing anything beyond the back corner of their house, the city really should look at the vulnerabilities and hire an engineer to have a look at them. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Do we have any other members of the public with us wishing to speak to the application for 1441 Montreal Street? And I'll call one last final time. Do we have anybody in the public gallery online?
Thank you, and through you, we do have 2 members of the public with us online. I just want to remind those online, if you'd like to speak, to raise your virtual hand in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen.
So my third and final call, do we have any other members of the public wishing to speak to the application for 1441 Montreal Street? Please raise your physical hand or virtual hand in Zoom. And seeing none, I'll close the public portion of the meeting and come back to maybe staff to address some of the questions we just heard.
Thanks, and through you, Chair. So the applicants do have to go through a building permit process. So far, what we've heard from the building division is they haven't flagged any sort of structural issues with the building. So we are not aware of any geotechnical concerns in this area. It doesn't mean some might not exist, but they're not impacting on this minor variance or this building permit. The homes in this area do have zoning to have additional residential units. This provides, a variety of housing around the city. So, those homeowners who wish to take advantage of having additional units on their property can, in accordance with the zone regulations passed by council, which is what this homeowner is choosing to action today. So, that is just another evolution in the housing stock in this area. Regarding the safety of persons in this area, we have circulated this to the appropriate departments in transportation and parks and engineering, and they flagged no concerns from a safety perspective with the additional residential unit here or with the existing driveway. General neighborliness, watching out for people playing on the street, hopefully pervasive across all types of neighbors. So that is not something that's going to impact the planning application, but we do hear the concern.
Okay, thanks very much. All right, so I'll turn it over to the committee. Do you have any questions for the applicant, agent, or their agent or staff? So maybe we'll call for a motion. So yes, moved by Ken and seconded by Vincent. Any discussion? Yes, Ken.
Yeah, I would just like to add perhaps the obvious statement that the addition of a residential unit in the basement here is permitted as of right in the official plan with tandem parking and in the zoning bylaw. In other words, it's not unique to this property. It's common across the city, as James has pointed out.
Yes.
The second thing I would like to add then, that this variance is only dealing with one point, and that's whether a car can pass through a width of 2.4 meters as opposed to 3 meters. And in the opinion of staff, it can. The third point I would like to add is that there is a condition of approval that addresses no adverse impacts with respect to changes to grading and drainage on the property. So I think that addresses, at least in part, Ms. Nolan's concern with respect to physical changes on the property that may prejudice the stability of the slope or her property.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, very good points. Any other further comment before I call the vote? Okay, so all in favor, raise your physical hands. And opposed? And abstained? Somna? Abstained? Okay, so we have 4 and 1 abstained. And the motion carries. And the 1 abstention is with Somna. Right. And thank you, Mr. Braghese. All right, our second application is for 26 Maitland Street. Lindsay, can I have you read this into the record, please?
Through you, Mr. Chair. This is an application for minor variance at 26 Maitland Street, file number D13044-2024, to permit an accessory structure in the front yard of the semi-detached house.
Okay, thank you. Do we have the applicant with us this evening or their agent? Yeah.
Hello, my name is Alex Cleve, and I'm a planner with Fotem Planning and Design at 4 Cataraqui Street in Kingston. I'm here with my colleague David Nanton, and the applicants are also present.
Great, welcome. Is there anything further you wanted to add or request relief?
No, we've reviewed the staff's report and have nothing to add.
Okay, thank you very much. Committee members, do you have any questions for the applicant or agent or staff? I'm seeing none, so I'll open the public portion of the meeting. Do we have any members of the public with us in-house or online wishing to speak to the application for 26 Maitland Street? Please raise your hand. And I'm calling for members of the public wishing to speak to the application for 26 Maitland Street. Please raise your hand and let yourself be known. And my third and final call, if you are here to speak to the application for 26 Maitland Street, please raise your physical or virtual hands. And seeing none, I'll close the public portion of the meeting and come back to the committee for a motion. So moved by Vincent and seconded by Doug. Any discussion? Vincent.
I just had some questions I forgot to ask earlier.
Yeah.
Was this something that was already that you put up an extra garbage thing and then realized you needed minor variance, or is it existing?
At 26 Maitland, it is not existing. There's an existing garbage enclosure that is just something you would buy from Canadian Tire and is plastic, and they want something that matches the materiality of the house and the shed at 28 Maitland.
Okay. And how many units is it in each?
It's one unit
One
in
unit.
each.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. I really like the idea of putting garbage in in those things, because there's a big problem around in multiple districts where garbage gets
Right.
strewn about just because there's no proper storage. So I'm really happy about that. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Any other questions? All right, so committee members, all in favor, raise your physical hand, and that's unanimously carried. Thank you, thank you. But I think you have to stay there, right? All right, Lindsay, can I have you read the application for 28 Maitland Street, please?
Through you, Mr. Chair. Next is an application for minor variance at 28 Maitland Street, file number D13045-2024, to permit accessory structures in the front yard of the semi-detached house.
Okay, and again, have to ask you to state your name and address for the record.
Alex Cleve, I'm a planner with Photon Planning and Design at 4 Cataraqui Street in Kingston,
And
accompanied by David Nanton.
thank you. And anything further you wish to add to the application?
No, again, reviewed the report and nothing to add.
Good stuff. Committee members, do you have any questions for the applicant or their agent or staff? I see none, so I'll open the public portion of the meeting. Do we have any members of the public with us this evening wishing to speak to the application for 28 Maitland Street? Please raise your physical hand or your virtual hand in Zoom. I'll call again. Do we have any members of the public with us wishing to speak to the application for 28 Maitland Street? Raise your physical or virtual hand. My third and final call. If you're wishing to speak to the application for 28 Maitland Street, please raise your physical or virtual hand. And I see none, so I'll close the public portion of the meeting and come back to the committee for a motion. Moved by Vincent and seconded by Doug. Any discussion? So all in favor, raise your physical hands, and that's unanimously carried. Thank you. The next item on the agenda was for 2267 Princess Street. That has been deferred through the amendment to the agenda. So now we're moving on to item number 5, which is for 933 Innovation Drive. Lindsay, can I have you read that into the record, please?
Through you, Mr. Chair. This is an application for minor variance at 933 Innovation Drive, file number D13047-2024, to permit loading spaces in the front yard and to eliminate a planting strip requirement along the rear lot line of the subject property to enable a proposed building addition to the light industrial facility on the subject property.
Thank you. And we have the applicant, or can I have you state your name and address, please?
Good evening, and through you, Mr. Chair, my name is Kelsey Jones. I am a planner with Photon Planning and Design for Cataraqui Street.
Great, and welcome. Is there anything further you want to add to the application?
Just that I have reviewed staff's report and am in agreement with the recommendation.
Thank you. Committee members, do you have any questions for the applicant or staff? Ken?
My first question was to confirm the lands to be acquired from the city. I'm looking at Exhibit F, which is a copy of the preliminary site plan showing the existing building and the proposed building. Do I understand correctly that the city lands to be acquired lie on the right-hand side of the drawing and are occupied by the proposed building, parking, and the stormwater pond? That's for you.
Through you, Mr. Chair, that is correct. It is the kind of the sliver of the lands shown on the right-hand side.
Right. And this is one of the hydro easement that has to be shifted over, the pole line, right?
Through you, Mr. Chair, that is correct.
Yeah, and I did have a second question. The staff report was very clear in indicating there were 6 additional loading spaces proposed in the immediate future with the building expansion, and then there was reference to another future possible 6. Where might they go on the perimeter of the building if in fact it's this building addition that could end up having 12 loading spaces?
Through you, Mr. Chair. So the potential for 6 additional spaces beyond what are currently shown on the plan would be in the same kind of similar location, so along that frontage of the building on the south side. So they're not necessarily shown on the plan as of right now, but there's enough width right now in between the 2 kind of 3 loading spaces that are proposed where they could be provided if they're needed in the future.
Thank you very much.
Okay, any further questions? I'm seeing none, so I'll open the public portion of the meeting. Do we have any members of the public with us wishing to speak to the application for 933 Innovation Drive? Please raise your physical or virtual hand. And is anybody with us this evening wishing to speak to the application for 933 Innovation Drive? Please raise your hand. And my third and final call, is anybody here to speak to the application for 933 Innovation Drive? Please let yourself be known, and I see none. So I'll come back to the committee for a motion. So moved by Ken, seconded by Doug. Any discussion? I see none, so all in favor, raise your physical hand, and that's unanimously carried. Thank you. Next item is item number 6, which is for 393-395 Earl Street. Lindsay, can I have you read this into the record, please?
Through you, Mr. Chair, this is an application for permission at 393-395 Earl Street, file number D13-025-2024, to permit a hair salon use. The addendum contains several letters of support for this application.
Thank you. And you're the applicant?
I'm representing the current owner.
Okay, and can I have you state your name and
My name
address?
is Carlos Marquez, and I live at 167 Sutherland Drive.
Great, thank you and welcome. Is there anything further you want to add to the application?
At this time, no.
Nothing. Okay, committee members, do you have any questions for the applicant or staff? I see none, so I'll open the public portion of the meeting. Do we have any members of the public willing to speak to the application for 393-395 Earl Street? Please raise your physical hand or your virtual hand in Zoom. Is there anybody in the gallery?
Thank you. Through you, there is one person online. Just a reminder, if you would like to speak to this item, to raise your virtual hand in the bottom right-hand corner.
Thank you. And do we have anybody with us this evening wishing to speak to the application for 393-395 Earl Street? Raise your physical or virtual hand. And this is my third and final call. If you'd like to speak to the application for 393-395 Earl Street, raise your physical or virtual hand. And seeing none, I'll close the public portion of the meeting and come back to the committee for a motion. Moved by Doug and seconded by Ken. Any discussion? No discussion, so all in favor, raise your physical hand, and that's unanimously carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, the next two items I've declared a pecuniary interest for, so I'll be relinquishing the chair to Mr. Davies.
Lindsay, could you read the, the next application in for the record?
Through you, Mr. Vice Chair, this is an application for minor variance at 780 Gardeners Road, file number D13-040-2024, to exempt a proposed automatic car wash from the requirement to provide a loading space. The revised agenda tonight corrects a typo in Exhibit A of this report.
Do we, pardon me, do we have the applicant or the applicant's agent in the room or online? Oh. Mr. Sands, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My name is Jason Sands. I'm a registered professional planner in the province, and I'm here on behalf of the applicant this evening.
Do you have anything you wish to add further to the staff recommendation?
I have nothing further to add, Mr. Chair. I've reviewed the report and the recommendations, and I appreciate the minor addendum completed this evening.
Thank you. Committee members, have you any questions for Mr. Sands or his staff? Seeing none, pardon me. I'll open the public portion of the meeting. Is there anyone present in the room or online that wishes to speak to the application for 780 Gardeners Road? Nobody? No. That's going once, going twice. Anyone present, either in the room or online, that wishes to speak to the application for 780 Gardeners Road? And last call. Anyone present wishing to speak to the application for 780 Gardeners Road? Apparently not. We'll close the public portion of the meeting, and I think we can jump right to a resolution from the committee for the disposition of the application. Moved by Councillor Sinani, seconded by Doug, to adopt the staff recommendation as presented. All in favor, raise your hands. And all opposed? I think that's carried with one abstention. Somnath, how do you wish to vote? I assume that's in favor, correct? That's unanimous. Thank you. And turning to the final application for 1813 Moore Lane. Lindsay, would you read that into the record, please?
Through you, Mr. Vice Chair, this is an application for minor variance at 1813 Moore Lane, file number D13041-2024, to construct a 147.72 square meter front yard accessory building. The revised agenda also corrects a typo in Exhibit A of this report.
Thank you. Do we have the agent or the applicant present in the room or online?
I'm here, Mr. Chair. My name is Jason Sands, representing the owner on this application as well. I reviewed this application and the recommendation before you this evening, and I have nothing further to add. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sands. Do the committee members have any questions for Mr. Sands or staff? No? Seeing none, we'll open the public portion of the meeting. Is there anyone present in the room or online that wishes to speak to application for 1813 Moore Lane? That's going once. Anyone present in the room or online to speak to 1813 Moore Lane? And the last time, anyone wishing to speak to the application for 1813 Moore Lane, speak now or not? Okay, that's it. We'll close the public portion of the meeting. Is there a motion to adopt the staff recommendation? Moved by Doug, seconded by Somnath. And all in favor, raise your hands, please. And that's carried unanimously. Thank you very much.
Okay, carrying on, we have no motions and no notices of motions. There's no new other business and no pieces of correspondence. We are at the date of the next meeting, and I'm told that council chambers will not be available for the August 19th meeting, so that meeting will be held virtually at 5:30, and a notice with a link will go out in due course, okay? So we're at adjournment. Can I have a motion to adjourn? So moved by Ken and seconded by Doug. Any discussion? So all in favor, raise your physical hands. And that's unanimously carried. Meeting adjourned at 6:04 p.m. Thanks, peoples.